What's going on, everybody? Got Travis Reier here. Covers Alabama for BamaOnline 24/7 Sports Network. We're going to talk about Javion Cohen, newest Miami Hurricane. Travis, how are you?
Great. How are you, Chris?
Doing great. We just talked. Plenty busy with the portal and with signing day, the whole thing. However, not busy with the bowl game. So there's plenty to talk about with player acquisition. Try to get Miami turned around. Travis, I want to get your take on Javion. Miami's certainly excited to have a player like him. Trying to beef up the offensive line, get a proven guy from obviously a high-powered program. What are your thoughts on Javion? We'll go through his career, but just kind of your thoughts on Javion as a player.
He really trended in a positive direction for Alabama. Came in as a freshman 3 years ago and saw time as a backup tackle primarily, but wondered if guard might not be more in his immediate future heading into year two. And he took advantage of that opportunity. The last 2 seasons, he's been really solid. They had a situation this year where they rotated in Tyler Booker with both he and Emil Ekiyor. So it was a little bit of a revolving door situation, but he maintained a pretty high level of play. So I think Alabama has to feel good about what they've gotten out of Javion Cohen.
Yeah, it just with getting him, a guy that started the last 2 years, as you mentioned there. Was there a jump in his game this past season in your mind? Maybe something he got a little bit better at? I've seen the Pro Football Focus metrics, but I'm curious maybe your thoughts on him, if there was an area of his game you felt like he improved on from a year from the previous year.
I think he did a better job probably in terms of discipline, not as many penalties as you see players, especially offensive linemen, as they progress. That seems to be something they clean up more and more. This year for them, J.C. Latham in his first year as a starter, penalties, for example, were really problematic for him. It was really good, but penalties as a second-year player for Latham were an issue. Probably not as much for Javion in year two. Effective player both in the run game and as a pass protector. I think it helped to bring in a grad transfer on that left side with Tyler Steen coming in at left tackle, but having Javion there presented a sense of familiarity and helped stabilize the interior of that offensive line. I'm not sure if there was a notable jump in his play, but I didn't feel like he regressed either.
A guy that's listed as 6'4", 305. I'm curious, kind of going back to him as a recruit, 4-star guy, but immediately wins that job as a redshirt freshman in 21. What did he do at that point in his career to really elevate himself in a highly competitive environment there?
Yeah, they had pretty good turnover at the guard position in 2021. Landon Dickerson had been an interior player for him. Emil Ekiyor was coming on as a guard. So the opportunity was there. And like so many of these guys that Alabama recruits, and I'm sure it's the same with Mario now at Miami, he had a tackle background. Just about across the board when Alabama signs linemen, if they're not more true center types, they're tackle types. And then they start converting and cross-training guys between tackle and guard, and it kind of goes from there. So he took advantage of the opportunity. You could see it coming again because there was a need, and that you saw enough of him as a true freshman to think that he was very much in their immediate plans. And again, they've had guys like Alex Leatherwood that they've taken from tackle and moved to guard. Evan Neal got his start as a guard at Alabama before going outside to tackle. Jedrick Wills, guys like that. So he made that transition pretty easily because, again, and I'm guessing this is the case with Mario too in Miami, there's a lot of cross training that goes on between multiple positions.
Yeah, definitely. And they're trying to find the right mix. They want to be strong up front. It's been a priority. Obviously, Mario Cristobal at practices is always working with the offensive line. They've had success when they're in their time at Oregon. We touched on, you're touching on some of the stuff, his experience from Alabama. Definitely offensive line. They want to be good there. With Javion, it's kind of interesting talking about his first start. It was actually against Miami there in that 21 opener there. With Javion, though, what do you think maybe what can you think he could bring a program from his experience, maybe just him, but just anybody essentially, but coming from the Alabama background, what can he do specifically to kind of help either lead this group and try to get Miami back to where they're more successful and winning more games? Is there something that maybe you think he could bring to this team that he learned from Alabama going through that experience?
Yeah, I'm guessing Mario sees this as an opportunity to not only upgrade his offensive line, but help establish the standard that he expects on a day in and day out basis. Javion's been around it for 3 years. So, he's going to go in there with the mindset that, this is the way things have to be done day in and day out, practice in, practice out, kind of from a culture perspective. I'm thinking Mario probably looks at this as a lift to not only the offensive line room, but his team in general. You're getting a fourth year guy with 2 years of starts, and he's coming from a program where there's not much negotiating where the standard and the expectation is concerned.
And certainly, again, from whether or not Cristobal coached at Alabama or not, certainly he's looking at the program as that's what he would like to build, try to implement many qualities that Alabama has. Obviously, a lot of programs would, but I definitely feel that they're trying to do that. This is a step in that direction in terms of just getting someone that's been through it, a player. They have other coaches as well that have been through that program. With Jay, look, offensive line, we talk about, the physical attributes, the whole thing. I'm curious maybe what you know about his mentality in terms of, being a leader, being a guy that's accountable, those kind of things that typically offensive linemen are willing to kind of step up a little bit, be a little bit more vocal, especially a guy that's, as you keep mentioning, a guy that's been around. He's played some football at a high level, been on high quality teams.
Intangibly, I think he can definitely bring a good bit to the mix. Now, what I like about Javion too, and I have the utmost admiration for him, is that in the last year, he decided he really needed to address his mental health. And that was a situation in the last 6 to 8 months where he took the time to really focus on that, kind of stepped away from things to make sure he was in a place that he needed to be in. And he was outspoken about that situation. He went public with it. And I have the utmost admiration for someone that has that type of courage in that situation, because it shouldn't require that type of courage. But we all know the reality of the world we live in when you're addressing things like that. So I think that had to have been a very positive thing for him in retrospect. And now, hopefully he's in a place where he feels like he's freed up to do everything he wants to accomplish in life, let alone football. So there are things that Javion can speak to, not only as a veteran football player, but as someone who has been through some things that required attention. And I think that can help your program from that perspective too.
And it's certainly great to hear that he went through that, maybe still going through stuff. So hopefully things continue to, he handles things in a positive mentality manner moving forward. Hopefully
Yeah.
things are working out well for him. Certainly many people deal with it, football or not. So that is good lesson, good, experience to share to his teammates, the whole thing. Travis, you touched on, maybe with that in mind, and a new place for Javion moving forward in his career, what he's already done. Maybe your thoughts on what he can do moving forward, maybe the next step for him as a player at a new place here.
Yeah, he has pro potential as a football player. I don't think there's any doubt about that. We talk about his tackle background. I think that shows up in making him an above average pass protector at the guard position. He's agile. He can get out and pull and zone runs and some of the outside zone that you saw from Alabama with Jahmyr Gibbs this year. He was important in a lot of that. So he's an accomplished player with still some upside to hit, in my opinion. And the change of scenery, maybe that's a good thing for him. And he's a guy that, again, I view him as a plug and play. I'm sure that's the plan. You don't go out and get this guy with 2 years of starts at a place like Alabama, and you're thinking about him being in the mix from a depth perspective. So, again, you wish nothing but the best for Javion, and just see him as being a real asset to Miami moving forward.
Yeah, definitely. I know they're expecting, high impact player immediately, and we'll see how that goes. But certainly that's the expectation for him.
I'd be shocked if he wasn't a starter. I mean,
and Miami's doing all they can to kind of turn this thing on the offensive line around with their recruiting.
Yeah, Mario's not going to. I mean, Mario's background, he's certainly not going to stand pat on subpar offensive line play at all. I mean, he's not going to. I don't see Mario sitting still where roster wide is concerned, but I mean, he understands is better than anybody. You just you can't be non-competitive, really, or at least not above average in that area. Even and you can talk about the ACC, and it doesn't matter what league you're in. I mean, you have to be plus in that area.
There's no doubt about it, and they were not. So they definitely got room to grow there, and new faces. And Javion certainly a headliner in that. Anything, Travis? Anything that you remember from him as a recruit? Class of 2020, out of Phoenix City, 4-star recruit according to the 24/7 Sports composite rankings, number 25 offensive tackle, as we've talked about, as you've mentioned. There anything that you remember from that or his high school days, kind of coming up here?
Yeah, Central High School in Phoenix City, that's a damn good program. I mean, I'm not going to sit here and tell you it's on par with some of the programs in Broward and Dade, but it can compete. Year in and year out. That's a really good football program. So you feel good about what you're getting with a player out of Central Phoenix City. And as I recall, he was committed to Auburn, nearby Auburn. And so he was a late flip there heading up to I think the early signing date in December. And then he enrolled at Alabama early. And he was, as I recall, on social media too, he was sort of a vocal guy in terms of trying to help finish that class once he made the move. So he's a personable guy from what I can gather, from what I've gathered. He's a positive guy. And he is someone that I think media will enjoy. And he's just going to represent the program in a first-class manner.
That's great. And Travis, you've represented yourself in Alabama in a first-class manner here, dropping great knowledge. So I appreciate you, and hopefully you have a good time. Good day.
Hey, I appreciate it, Chris.